Hi, it's Paul here from selfappforlife.com, and today I'm going to talk about the reticular activating system and goals and how to use your unconscious mind to achieve your goals. So every single day we are bombarded with information, and according to tech21century.com, we receive the equivalent of 34 gigabytes of information every day. And that's probably increasing year by year with the influence of technology, social media, and our very interconnected world that we live in now. Now, if you were to put the equivalent of that on a laptop, so 34 gig of information every day for a week onto a laptop, the laptop wouldn't be able to cope. It would become overloaded. So there's no way that we can take in that amount of information either. So we have this thing called the reticular activating system, which acts like the gatekeeper. So it takes in that 34 gig of information and it filters out the unnecessary from the important. And this information all comes in from our five senses, so from what we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. And the reticular activating system decides which information to pay attention to and what information is most important. And interestingly, about 99% of the information we get from our senses is ignored. Or it's ignored at the conscious level anyway. Our subconscious mind actually picks up everything, and it's the reticular activating system that alerts the conscious mind to information that is important. Now, the reticular activating system learns over time, and so what you'll find is over time it will alert you to the same information, and that's one of the ways that a habit is formed. However, our conscious mind is smarter, so if we start to pay attention to something consciously, then your reticular activating system will start to put it on the more important list, which means it will start to unconsciously notice things that help you towards that goal or whatever it is you're paying attention to. So for that reason, the reticular activating system is super important for goal setting, but also for attention keeping, so keeping focused on certain things, and also for sustaining life, as you'll see in a moment. So here are some examples of the reticular activating system in action. So let's say you buy a new car, and then you begin to notice other people driving the same car. That's because by buying this car, this model has become on your important list, so your reticular activating system starts to notice other people that also have the same car. Let's say you're a woman and you're pregnant, and you begin to notice other women who are pregnant. Okay, the same thing, it's become something that's more the focus of your attention now, so you notice other women who are also pregnant for that reason. You learn a new word, maybe a bit of technological jargon, and you start to hear other people saying that word a lot. Or you're at a party and there's lots of noise, maybe you're having a conversation with someone at that party, and someone shouts your name, and you hear that name through all the background noise. Okay, so there's that part of you that knows your name is important and it picks that up. Let's say you've got a baby and you hear the baby cough or crying at night. Your reticular activating system will wake you up from sometimes a deep sleep to attend to that baby. And that's because one of the functions of the reticular activating system is sustaining life. So it will do that for that reason. And it can work also in another way for attention focus as well. So let's say you're at something like a soccer match or you're at a movie and you're really engrossed in it, and the reticular activating system will help you focus on that one thing that's important. Okay, so it can work in other ways as well. Now, the reticular activating system and goals. Now, the reticular activating system is a mechanism in the brain that helps make goals happen. And with conscious direction, e.g. by writing goals and focusing on what you want, you begin to attract people, things and places into your life. So let's give you some examples of that. You've got this goal in mind, or you're focusing intently on something that you want, and you just happen to be reading a magazine and you're flipping through the pages. Your unconscious mind, through your reticular activating system, spots something that's important and relevant to that goal, and you will just notice that unconsciously. You've probably had the experience of that, I'm sure, at some point in the past. So if you tried to do that consciously, it wouldn't have worked, but your unconscious mind, the reticular activating system, spots that for you. The same thing could happen when you're on the internet. So you could be browsing a blog article or something on the internet, and suddenly your unconscious mind homes in on a particular phrase that's exactly what you need to hear. Or you could be a bystander, maybe at a party, and you're overhearing conversations happening, and somebody says something that's relevant to whatever you're focusing on at the moment. So you just happen to pick up on that. You wouldn't have done that otherwise. Or someone says something directly to you in conversation, and you get that aha moment because it's just what you need to hear at the time. So with all those examples, the answer was always there. It's just that you didn't notice it before. And it's interesting because comedians, it's interesting how they find jokes in the most bizarre and unusual and mundane of situations. That's because a comedian's reticular activating system is always looking for something that can be good material or great material for a joke. So they'll be looking everywhere to see the funny side of something. So just to summarize then, your reticular activating system is very important because it helps bring people, things and places that we focus on into our life. Now, a lack of goal clarity and focus equals missed opportunities. If the reticular activating system doesn't see that as important, then you're going to miss out, and instead it will be focusing on the mundane or the negative. And this is why it's so important to focus on what you want. It's so easy to focus on bills, lack, debt and sickness, and then we wonder why we can't have a life of abundance, good health, prosperity and peace. So it's really important that you can create a specific picture in your mind, in your conscious mind, and then the reticular activating system can pass that information to your subconscious mind, which will then help you achieve that goal by bringing to your attention relevant information, people, places and things which you might otherwise not have noticed. They would have been just there as background noise. So I'm now going to cover some ways to help you use the reticular activating system to your advantage. So the first way is to set SMART goals that are written down. So a SMART goal is one that is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic and time bound. And I cover SMART goals in another video which will appear up here. So do go and check out that video. But the most important thing is that you set these SMART goals and you write them down. And for some reason, writing them down by hand in your own handwriting is better than typing them on the computer. For some reason, the reticular activating system seems to imprint that more into the unconscious mind than a goal that's written on the computer. So write them down by hand for the very best results. So the next one is to ask questions to make your goal more vivid. So these questions could include, how will you know if you have achieved it? So making that really detailed will help get a really clear goal in your imagination. What will you see, hear or feel? So again, really thinking about those and writing those down will make the goal much more vivid. Also, where, when and with whom do you want it? So bringing in places and other people as well, just going to make the goal more vivid as well. What will achieving your outcome do for you? So this is chunking it up to the next level. So what's the benefit, the emotion that you're going to get from that? So again, if you can identify that, that's something else for your reticular activating system to work on. What are you already doing to move towards your outcome? So this will focus on the progress that you're already making and make that more within your unconscious mind as well. So your reticular activating system can keep picking up on that as well. And also, what qualities, skills, states do you need to reach your outcome? So again, this is asking a question that can go into your reticular activating system to get it looking for the qualities, the skills and the states that you need. So it might start bringing some of those into your life as well. So the next one is to keep the goal or problem at the top of your mind. So keep thinking about it over and over again. Keep talking about it to family, friends and colleagues and anyone that will listen and find it interesting and maybe help you. Write the goals down, write your ideas down and keep dreaming about them. So the more that you can do all those things, the more it's going to impress on your reticular activating system. And a good way to do that is to post pictures, charts or graphs, like vision boards in a way, just around your house in places where you're likely to unconsciously notice them. So places like in the bathroom, on the fridge, maybe inside a wardrobe, maybe near your office desk, and just anywhere really where you might notice it. So that could be pictures of you achieving the goal, or some chart or graph that's measuring your progress, particularly useful if it's a financial or business goal. That can really help as well. Okay, the next one is taking consistent action. So consistent action is important in achieving any goal anyway, but it's important for the reticular activating system because if you're taking consistent action, you're continually thinking about it, and that's what's important. And that will keep your reticular activating system focused and alert to new opportunities. The next one is to train your reticular activating system. So let's give you an example of this. So I had a client recently that was coming back with a lot of negative things. She was noticing a lot of negative things in her life, and I was encouraging her to sort of notice some of the positive things in her environment. And I actually asked her to take a few minutes to write down 5 things that she was either grateful for or that were going well in her life. And she really struggled to do it. I had to really guide her and help her and try and get her to come up with 5 things, you know. And for most of us that's pretty easy to do, but for her it was really hard. And that's because her reticular activating system had become so focused on what was not working and what was not right that it had really lost track of anything that was working in her life. So it was really hard for her. It was like she had a very big neural pathway in her brain about all the things she didn't want, and a very tiny neural pathway in the brain that focused on what she did want. And I suppose what I was doing there was really helping her build that kind of mental muscle so she could start to do that more automatically. And again, it's just been a habit that she's got into over time. So what I encourage you to do now is to take 5 minutes to write down everything that you've achieved. Okay, now for a couple of minutes you'll find this really easy. You can write down things like, you know, maybe getting through university, getting a degree, maybe buying a house, maybe falling in love and getting married, maybe it's having kids. Maybe you've achieved a certain level of success in your career or in your business. Maybe you've achieved some health goals, losing weight, building muscle, those kind of things. Maybe you've made some great friends, you've been to some interesting places in the world, those kind of things. And you can see that's pretty easy. But after a couple of minutes, it gets a bit harder when you've thought of all the obvious things. You have to start thinking more about maybe things that you've achieved on a particular day or recently, more little things really, to really work your brain to do that. So that's a great exercise to do. So take 5 minutes to write down everything that you've achieved in your life so far. And as I say, it will get hard after a couple of minutes to do that, but persevere for the full 5 minutes. And what you'll find then is that your reticular activating system will start thinking of other things that you've achieved after the timer has stopped. Okay? So, and that will help train your brain to automatically look for good things that are going on in your life. So the next one is positive affirmations. Positive affirmations force the reticular activating system to kick in automatically. And this is often why people feel like when they put something out into the universe that it comes back to them. It's actually their reticular activating system acknowledging items on its important list and then sending them back to the conscious brain. So the first step is to talk a lot, to speak out your affirmations out loud. And these could be affirmations to reflect your goals, but also the positive emotions that you want to experience as well. So a good example of an affirmation for losing weight could be, I am thin, fit and healthy. So make sure that your affirmations are in the positive. That's a much better affirmation than I want to lose weight, because with that affirmation, the unconscious mind has to focus on the weight to think about losing weight. So make them in the positive as much as you can. So I am thin, fit and healthy is a good example if you're looking to lose weight. The next way is visualization. So your reticular activating system cannot distinguish between real events and synthetic reality, i.e. imagined reality. So things that you vividly imagine in your imagination. So basically it tends to believe whatever message you give it, whether that message comes from the outside world or it's something that you create inside. So, and also remember that your imagination and your subconscious mind loves pictures. So use all your senses when you're visualizing, so not just what you see, but also what you hear, what you feel, touch, and maybe even taste as well. And also make the image very large, like on a large cinema screen. That really helps as well. And really important with visualization is visualizing the goal as already achieved. Okay, so that's really important, and that will then kick your reticular activating system into providing you with those people, places and things that's going to help you achieve that goal. And then the last one is really repetition, which is really just doing all of these, okay, regularly. Okay, so doing some of all of these regularly, because each time you do that, you're building that mental pathway in your brain, and that makes it more important for the reticular activating system to know. So just doing all these things, keeping it in the forefront of your mind, keeping the goal in the forefront of your mind, so that the reticular activating system can just go on and do its job. So now you have a much clearer idea on how the reticular activating system actually works, and you have some strategies that you can put into place in your own life to start getting the reticular activating system to focus on the people, places and things that are important for you going forward in life, rather than just focusing on the mundane or even the negative things in life as well. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and do leave a comment below. Love to hear what you think. And do subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and click the bell notification. That way you will always be notified whenever I release future videos. And if you haven't already, do check out my website. That's selfhelpforlife.com. On there you will find the written versions to many of these videos, and also a link to my podcast and social media sites as well. So I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I look forward to sharing more great content with you very soon. Bye for now.